everyone to today's webinar, Stronger Together, How Library Consortia Thrive with Alma. I'm Maud Arno. I'm the Alma Consortia Product Manager at Clarivate, and I'm delighted to guide today's conversation on collaboration, innovation, and shared library management. We'll be joined by 4 fantastic representatives for consortia around the world. So let me quickly introduce our panelists before we start our conversation. So today we have with us Wendy Ellis, Director of Integrated Library Services at Florida Virtual Campus Library Services, FLVC. We also have Jürgen Kirso, Vice Director, Head of Network Services at Swiss Library Services Platform, SLSP. Elisa Delambreggio, Head of Renovo Coordination at Bibliothèque Cantonale et Universitaire de Lausanne, also known as BCU Lausanne. And finally, Alex Fletcher, Omni Network Zone Technology Specialist at Ontario Council of University Libraries, also known as OCUL. So thank you all for joining this conversation with us today. And with those introductions in place, I want to set the stage by learning a bit more about each consortium and how collaboration looks in practice. So my first question, and Wendy, I'm going to start with you, would be to ask you to introduce yourself, your consortium, telling us what makes it unique, what does collaboration looks like day to day, and how does your central office work with member libraries?
So hello, everybody. Again, my name is Wendy Ellis. I'm the Director of Integrated Library Services at FLVC. So we do have a central support office. It is FLVC Library Services. There's about 37 employees. We support 40 institutions. They're publicly funded academic institutions in Florida. There are 28 colleges, 12 universities. About 156 libraries across all of those institutions, and about 28 million bibs that we support. In the FLVC department, we support Alma, ILS, and Primo, and soon the NDE, hopefully by summer of next year. Analytics, data loading, everything related to Alma ILS. We also have an e-resources department. They're responsible for managing the licenses with vendor negotiations and the statewide electronic resources. We have a help desk and training and support department. That's pretty self-explanatory. And also a digital services and OER department that's responsible for managing the statewide digital services collections and OER initiatives. We're unique in the sense that we are state funded, so we do have some limitations on what we can and can't support and what we can and can't fund. Collaboration in our consortia, we work very closely with our member institutions. We have what's called a members council, so they're representatives from each of the 40 institutions. They're usually deans and directors. And they act as an advisory board for us. Under members council, they have about 8 different standing committees. So they range from the different, they manage the different functional areas in Alma. So like technical services, resource sharing, discovery. There's also a digital initiatives standing committee and a library assessment committee and a couple of others I might be forgetting. We do a lot of training at FLVC, just things to make sure that all of our members are aware of what's going on with Alma and Primo and other features. So like quarterly, we do the new features webinar with our members to just talk about all of the different features that are coming out. We'll do all the testing and setup behind the scenes, and then sort of demo some of the features that we think are very important for our members to know about, and just give them a heads up on some features that we really think they need to be aware of. Other type of training, we've kind of partnered with our Ex Libris' Signature Success Program. We've worked with Evita Rodriguez to get some reports about zero usage reports. So these are reports of functionality in Alma that is not being currently used or not heavily used at our institutions, some of the features. So just recently we did a webinar to talk about scheduled reports and widgets. So this is functionality that some of the libraries, I'm sure we had training when we went live about 4 years ago. But at that time, our libraries just didn't have the time to work on the setup. So we did training to kind of show what those scheduled reports look like, what the benefit is to their institution. Same thing with the widgets, and got some interest, and a few other libraries started using it after that. So and I think that's about all I have from my part. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. I think it's a great perspective, the way that the central office is there to support the members, but also to remind them that this feature is nice to use, and maybe you should take it over and use it more, and so on. I think this is one of the rules of the central office, obviously. Alex, how does this resonate with your experience at OCUL?
Well, I'm going to start by reintroducing myself, just like Wendy did. I'm Alex Fletcher, Technology Specialist for the Ontario Council of University Libraries, or OCUL for short, as you mentioned. OCUL advances academic research, teaching, and learning by collaborating at scale with our 20+ member libraries in the development and delivery of innovative services, resources, and digital research infrastructure for Ontario's universities, Ontario and Canada, that is, by the way. Our services include consortial e-resource purchasing, license management, professional development, and a shared library technology, Alma, for interlibrary loaning and collections access. So more recently, we've begun experimenting with some human-centric approaches to integrating AI tools into library work in an attempt to build services and staff efficiencies, whether consortially or just locally at our member libraries. And we also have a digital service arm, and that offers our member libraries bilingual virtual reference chat services, hosting of social science and geospatial research data, plus e-journals and ebooks, remediation for accessible library materials, and tons more. Unlike Wendy, our central office does not match our libraries one-to-one. We have 9 in our central office, with 1.5 of us devoted to the Alma project. And we work directly with our members people from our member institutions to actually accomplish the ongoing Alma work, which we try and do as much collaboratively and consortially as possible. So the 1.5 of us essentially facilitate and mediate that work, and occasionally help drive the progress in that. And that's OCUL.
Thank you, Alex. I think we heard 2 different models of collaboration. So Jürgen, I would like to understand, how does this compare to what you're doing in SLSP?
Yeah, so my name is Jürgen Cusseau. I'm the Vice Director of the Swiss Library Service Platform, short SLSP. SLSP is, other than FVC and OCUL, a private company. And this private company, SLSP, is owned by 22 higher education institutions in Switzerland, among them the leading universities of the country and the National Library of Switzerland. SLSP is the National Library Platform of Switzerland, and I'm also the head of network services. So this is the largest department, SLSP, with 28 persons providing all services to our customers. Our customers are academic libraries in Switzerland and also in the neighboring country of Liechtenstein. Currently, we count more than 500 libraries in our network, and our network is still growing. Switzerland is a multilingual country, so we are operating in 3 of our national languages. It's German, French, and Italian, and also English. System-wise, SLSP is providing 1 Alma network zone and 32 Alma institution zones, 1 national Primo View and 75 local Primo Views. Large complex universities and libraries usually have their own institution zone, which they manage themselves within a configuration framework which is specified by SLSP. And SLSP is managing institutional zones which are composed by small and medium-sized libraries. And with the composition of the institution zones, we paid attention to the uniformity of library types. So we are actually looked at what is the best way to support the different library types in our network. And from that point, we were composing the institution zones. What makes SLSP unique is the way we are using the Alma network zone. All 32 institution zones are following one common configuration pattern in Alma and Primo, which is managed and governed by the SLSP central office. We have also a central user management in the network zone using a single national ID. So every end user in Switzerland has only one unique account across all libraries and can use this account in all libraries in the national SLSP network. We also have a central e-resource management. So we have one department licensing the e-resources, and then we are integrating them into the Alma network. But we would like to do more here with the central e-resource management. Still, there are some shortcomings in the Alma system. And for fulfillment, we are not using the ILL between libraries in the country, but we use the Alma fulfillment network. And we are also providing with this fulfillment network a national courier system, which dispatches physical items to the end user from one library to any place in Switzerland with a maximum delay of 48 hours. My team is comprising by 28 persons in the central office, which is located in Zurich in the north of Switzerland. And we are having a co-working space in Lausanne in the southwest. So our colleagues are living all over the country while we are having a remote work policy, allowing us 3 days per week working from home. We are working together with the member libraries on various levels, from the executive level to the operating level. The governance provides participatory consultation and exchange formats when it comes to decisions with national relevance, or working groups with library expert staff for further developing the platform. We have various projects. We are providing training courses and workshops to the library staff. The projects are to develop our platform are mostly composed by members of the libraries and SLSP staff, and also when we're working in IGLU working groups, so it's a mixed composition of the members of our network and SLSP. So that's so far I can tell from SLSP for the moment.
Thank you, Jürgen. And you, Elisa, what about BCU Lausanne or Renouveau?
Yeah, exactly. So hello, everyone. My name is Elisa Dell'Ambrogio, and I'm the head of the Renouveau coordination team. So Renouveau is the library network of the Canton of Vaud. It's one of the 26 cantons or states, if you want, of Switzerland. We went live with Alma in 2016, and today we bring together 158 libraries and almost 700 librarians. The network is managed and fully funded by the Cantonal University Library of Lausanne, so BCUL. What really makes Renouveau special is how diverse it is. We have almost every type of library you can think of, academic and research libraries. We have heritage collections, specialized libraries, museum and archive libraries, but also school and public libraries. And all of them work with Alma and Primo V. We have one network zone, 2 institutional zones, and more than 60 Primo views adapted to different audiences. The Renouveau coordination team, so my team has 8 FTE and act as the network central office. We handle the day-to-day management of the network, and we are the only team with administrative access to Alma and Primo. We also maintain data quality, support librarians through our help desk, organize training and events for our members, and develop tools when needed. Because of this, we're in contact with librarians every day. Librarians of our network are also a strong part of our governance. About 70 of them are part of group experts, and 10 others are members of the Renouveau Council. And this close connection usually creates a lot of collaboration. When one library raises an idea or a problem, we can look at it together, test solutions, and scale them to other members. Many of our best initiatives actually start directly from the field.
Thank you, Elisa. I think it's very inspiring to see how collaboration shapes each consortia identity, because you're all different, but you all manage your consortia within Alma. I think it's a nice introduction. Thank you all. So Jürgen, let's see what. Let's learn what you were using before Alma. I want to understand what life was like back then. I mean, were you already sharing practices between members, or did Alma create that for you? Did you have challenges that you were especially eager to solve by moving to Alma?
So SLSP only started with the go live in December 2020. So for SLSP, it was Alma, the first consortial library product. But before SLSP, there were 6 academic library networks in Switzerland with different legacy systems. It was Aleph and Virtua VTLS. And Virtua VTLS in the French-speaking part of the country was very outdated, and anecdotally, training material from the early 2000s was still accurate in 2019. So that's how little it had changed in 20 years' time. The Aleph systems at the other networks were installed autonomously on local servers for each network. So at that time, there was no integration. On the metadata level, there was a loose cooperation between those networks, but still remained entirely independent. The reason to found SLSP was to get rid of that many academic library networks in a comparable small country, and resulting in the wish to eliminate as many redundancies as possible across the country, and pooling efforts in higher education institutions and striving to optimize efficiency. So prior to Alma, there was, for instance, no e-resource management, neither in Aleph nor in VTLS. So that was an intention to provide to end users now a consistent user experience also in searching, accessing, and displaying academic resources. And in terms of this, there was no cooperation between the former networks. So that was very new with SLSP and introducing Alma and Primo.
Thank you, Jürgen. And you, Wendy, how did that play out for FLVC?
So at FLVC, we went live on Alma and Primo in the summer of 2021. Before that, we were using Aleph. And Aleph was we supported the server at FLVC. So there was a lot of work that we had to do with the maintenance of the Linux server. Our IT department, we had to work very closely with them to make sure they were patching the server, make sure that there was continuity of operations. So we had a production and a test server. We had what we called a report server, was basically a hot backup of the production server from the day before, so that in the event of some sort of disaster, this report server was in a different physical location that we could access and get up online and get running. So there was a lot of manual work that needed to be done to maintain that system. Another issue that we really wanted to solve with Aleph had to do with the setup and configuration, the ongoing maintenance. In Aleph, you had to log into the server to edit files, flat files on the server to do the configurations. And we wanted, since we have some large academic institutions, large academic libraries down to small 2-year colleges, we wanted those institutions that had the resources to be able to do so, to be able to manage their own configurations, providing that they went through our training. FLVC provided training to ensure that they only edited certain areas that would not impact other functionality or other features in the system. Another another issue is that on Aleph, whenever there was any sort of change, any sort of like downtime, we have to deal with hurricanes from time to time. So there could be libraries that are closed unexpectedly for a week or so, or damaged due to flooding, that sort of thing. There was a lot of work that needed to be done to deactivate certain jobs that run on the system, like overdue notices turned off, and all that had to be manually done in the system. Whereas in Alma, it's very communicates, the system communicates with different areas. So if you let Alma know that the library is closed, a lot of those other features will be handled as well. You would be surprised with patrons. They might not even know when the book is due, or they might not read notices, but if you charge them an overdue when the library is closed, they will be very upset. So we had to make sure that was taken care of. Some of the other features that we were really looking to change, or changes that we were hoping to get with Alma, is the ability to push out and view and push out certain configurations from the network zone to all of the 40 different institution zones. It's not quite fully there yet in Alma, but it is getting there, and functionality is coming. I know, Maud, you've talked to us about that quite a bit. And also for analytics, we wanted the ability to run reports to see the data from the network zone for all of the 40 institutions, and be able to create reports in the network zone and push it out to the institution zones. In terms of the shared practices, in 2011, we started our statewide request service, where any patron at any institution could request material from any of the 40 institutions. We call them the Florida 40, and have it delivered to their home institution. So during the whole process of setting up that service back in 2011, 2012 timeframe, we worked a lot on the policies and a lot on the setup. So there was some of that work done at that time. And I think just the process of going through the implementation really brought a lot of people together, because we realized that Alma is so interconnected with all the different areas: technical services, acquisitions, resource sharing. They all work together in some way. We did have some shared standards, and I'm using Alma speak, so forgive me, like item statuses and patron statuses, collections, things of that nature. We did have some that were standardized. The colleges were a bit more standardized than the universities. We were a little bit more lax with the universities. They needed more granularity. So that caused a little bit of issue, especially going through the go live or the implementation process to identify all those different features. But so we did have some of that and before going to Alma, but it's definitely increased after going live with Alma.
Thank you, Wendy. And what about you, Elisa? Did you face similar issue in Lausanne?
So different issues, but still issues. So before moving to Alma, libraries in Vaud were already part of our consortium. So they were already a little bit used to working together. But with our legacy ILS, it was Virtua VTLS that Jürgen mentioned. So we were facing a couple of major challenges. First one was e-resources. Our old systems simply couldn't handle them, and this has become essential, especially for our academic users. But the biggest challenge was really the size of the project, of the network expansion. Since the creation of Renouveau, we knew we would have to integrate more than 50 new libraries in the network in just a few years. So we needed a system that could help us manage this growth efficiently. What we were really looking for was a platform that offers centralized management, consistent standards across all libraries, like Wendy mentioned, all while keeping the model sustainable as the network expanded. Alma was the solution that made that possible, really.
Thank you. And what about you, Alex?
So prior to moving to Alma, which we did in December 2019, so I think that might make us the oldest ones here. And all of our members were on a variety of different library software systems. We had, everything from Circe to Voyager to whatever else there was in between those letters. We'd been working together though for a number of years, doing a lot of shared electronic licensing of materials, sharing a centrally managed ILL system that we hosted centrally and managed. And we also worked with our governing organization to run a courier system around our province, much like SLSP does now, which we still do. But we didn't have a shared catalog across our province. There was no provincial catalog, no provincial collection, no sense of that. But there was a strong desire to collaborate more, and being on the same system was something that would definitely enable that for us. So ultimately, in December 2019, we migrated 13 of our schools to Alma and joined a network zone, and have added 6 others over the past few years. And yeah, we're up to almost as many bibs in our system as FLVC, with about 25 million. So it's kind of exciting now, and it's a big picture collection, which is really useful to see who has what, where it is, and how we can share that material amongst ourselves.
Thank you, Alex. So we clearly see the different pressure and needs that shape the Alma decision, but let's explore a bit more on the journey. Okay, so Elisa, I'm wondering what excited you the most about Alma at the start? Were there defining features that convinced you, or did you maybe consult with other consortia before making the change?
Yeah, sorry. For us, the key element was really Alma's strong support for consortia. Things like the network zone, shared cataloging, and the ability to align practices across so many different types of libraries made a lot of sense for a network as diverse as ours. Another important aspect was e-resource management. Like I told before, our legacy ALS simply couldn't handle them, and it had become essential. And then there's the API ecosystem. Being able to connect external tools and automate workflows has become central to our growth strategy as the network keeps expanding. Alma gave us the flexibility to build custom solutions on top of the platform, which was a major advantage. Before making our decision to choose Alma, we also spoke with other customers, of course, for example, a German consortium and the first library that implemented Alma in Switzerland. These conversations help us understand how the system worked in real life. And this is spirit, I can say, that stayed with us. We still regularly reach out to other consortia and networks to learn from their experience. And we're always happy to share ours, like I'm doing with you today.
Thank you, Elisa. I think next I would like to hear about you, Jürgen. What was the deciding factor for SLSP? For sure, I understand the API, the e-resources, scalability. I'm guessing is also another thing you had in mind. But please let us know what was.
I can subscribe to all the points that Elisa mentioned. So for us, was also important to have Alma in the cloud. So previously, we had to install and update the system on every computer. And it was actually a nightmare to manage this with staff turnaround. And also when you look at the sheer number of libraries where you had to do that, you couldn't even work properly from home. So look at the post-pandemic times, that situation we were working under before is quite unthinkable today. An important point for us was also the central user management, providing one library card for the entire country. So that was a big step forward to give the end users the experience to actually access the resources they need. At that time, when we were actually deciding for a new system, or for the new system for the new consortium SLSP, there wasn't actually a comparable network using a consortial system. So we were having contacts to colleagues in Austria, Norway, and Belgium, looked at these networks, but we had also our own requirements that we saw, especially for a new consortium that should start working. We were looking at several things. And for us, it was important at that time to have this close contact to the development and product managers at Ex Libris, so we could share our idea of how the network zone should actually develop further and what needs actually a consortium would have in these processes between the network zone and the institution zone. So from inheriting configurations to the institution zones. And we actually met here the right partners. So they were actually seeing the same vision with the network zone and used by a central office with their further development of the Alma and Primo products. So that was very important for us to have actually the impression that the provider on the other side is actually thinking in the same direction.
Thank you, Jürgen. And I totally agree with you. For us at Clarivate, it's very important partnering with all of you to make the product better years after years. We want to give you better and better services. So having this partnership is very a key. Wendy, what was it like for you?
Sorry, I couldn't find my mute button. So yeah, those examples that others gave, the cloud support, that was huge for us, not having to install clients or at each institution. Electronic resources, we had a lot of electronic resources loaded outside of OLAF, and that definitely added some complications to the view and access for resources. APIs were huge. And also the consortia functionality. Some of the others that I would mention are the setup or the configuration for, I call them third-party features. So like EDI, SIP2, that sort of thing, OCL synchronization, HathiTrust. You can set up an integration profile or a publishing profile, pretty much set it up once and it just works continuously. And it wasn't a lot of the back and forth and managing that we had to do somewhat in OLAF. Same for the patron loader, I think it's called SysLoad in Alma. Cache export, all of that work is very much a lot easier to set up with the SFTP server and that whole process. A lot easier to manage, and cleanup of the system, managing the patron purge and cleaning out cache and things of that nature. So much easier to manage in Alma. So those were some of the huge features for us.
Thank you, Wendy. So I'm guessing that once the decision is made, let's talk now about implementation. Okay, implementation begins, and that's where the real transformation happens. So Alex, let's now talk about how your members benefit today from this shared environment. Which workflow feel easier now? And as Alma changed the way libraries collaborate, do users notice a difference?
So we've had a couple of big projects where we've done a lot of cleanup on our bibliographic records, cleaning them up, deduplicating them, which really means that our member libraries have a much better big picture view of how their collection fits into the provincial collection, which, to be honest, is a massive thing to actually figure out, like how many people really do have this book. Am I the only one? And how that material can be made more readily available to the patron as well. In addition, we've built quite a number of shared analytics dashboards that show what is being shared and where to. So that can really help decisions about collections, being based on shared data, on actual data, rather than just a gut feel, which, let's be honest, a lot of us were doing for the last several years before we had good data. But the one thing we've really noticed with respect to the impact on our users and patrons is that our shared system removed a huge barrier to resources outside of their home institution, outside of their home library. The biggest group we've really seen this happen with is our undergraduate students, which obviously make up the large majority of the patrons. And it's due to the visibility of the items at the point of search, because that search shows our entire provincial collection, not just their local network stuff, and it makes it really simple to request immediately. So those are the biggest impacts we've seen since we've gone live.
Thank you, Alex. It's great example. And what about you, Jürgen? I'd love to hear how this looks in SLSP. Is it the same?
Yeah, well, it is the same. I would actually look at the two parts when I look at SLSP. So our clients, our customers are the libraries, but of course, all the services that we are providing is for the end users of the library. So we have two aspects here. Looking at the library staff, so what we can feel is that we now have a unified voice which amplifies the impact of Swiss academic libraries in national and international discussions. So we have also a fast and expert assistance in the SLSP support to all member libraries, so we can share best practices. We have shared training resources, so we can develop training for all the libraries, so it doesn't need to be developed locally. We can adapt very easily to individual training programs. And of course, decentralized data is very important for the libraries. Looking at the end users, for them, the biggest thing is they only have to register once to gain access to all services from the Swiss higher education libraries. So they can request items and scans from all over the country by themselves. And what we also notice is that the idea of a home library as the primary service provider is gradually fading, as end users strive to fulfill their needs in their studies, research, or gathering of information, regardless of being restricted to only one institution and its offerings. And what we are also providing with Primo is a unified user experience. So wherever a user is logging into Primo and also into a local view, the user can be assured that the services that are provided in that view, be it in Geneva, in Zurich, in Lugano, or in St. Gallen, are the same. So they have the same user experience across the entire country in each and every higher institution, education institution within SLSP.
Makes sense, yeah. I'm sure they see the benefit in that. Elisa, did Alma change the way your libraries work together as well?
Yeah, of course, Maud, working in a shared environment really brings a lot of very practical benefits for our members. They don't have to deal with Alma on their own. We handle all the central configuration. We look after data quality. We build tools when needed, and we provide training and daily support. So libraries can focus on their work without having to worry about the technical side. They also benefit from shared cataloging rules, shared e-resources, and common workflows across the network. And because so much is handled centrally, local teams can really put their energy into user services and into their own local projects, things that matter most for their patrons. Alma has also changed the way our libraries collaborate. Over time, I can say it created a real community. Librarians exchange best practices, join expert groups, and relying on the same documentation, support channels, the same events. The shared platform gives us a common language. People understand each other's challenges much more quickly. So overall, having one technical environment, so Alma and Primo, has been a major driver of collaboration.
Thank you, Elisa. It's great to hear. What about you, Wendy?
So most everyone has said everything that we've benefited from, but I will echo that having Alma has really, like Elisa said, it's really brought all of our library members together to talk about best practices and what challenges they are experiencing. I mentioned earlier that we have a members council with about 8 standing committees. FLVC library staff, we participate on all of those standing committees. One of them is not actually under members council. It's one for analytics that we host open office hours for primarily for more advanced report writers to just show up and ask questions about a report that they're working on and having difficulty with, and we'll show them how to how to make it better, how to make it work. So yeah, we've done a lot of work, especially with the resource sharing platform. I mentioned the statewide resource sharing platform that we have, using Alma's peer-to-peer resource sharing. There's a lot of work to make that, to make it function properly. And the collaboration that sprung from that process, from that project, has continued. And I've seen so much more collaboration amongst the libraries with FLVC going forward since going live with Alma. So.
Thank you, Wendy. That's very inspiring. I mean, it's clear that Alma has reshaped collaboration in your diverse consortia. So that brings the question of what comes next for your consortia. And I want to have a look ahead, a look in the future for your consortia. And Jürgen, I'm going to start with you. I know it's, I mean, for me, it's always interesting, very interesting to see how you see your consortia growing within Alma. And in your opinion, where could collaboration go further? What advice would you give to a new consortia as well?
Okay, so let's look at the situation we are currently in. So we are actually experiencing quite a disruptive process where libraries are at the moment. We see some exciting initiatives in the field of AI. So if I look at the initiatives of Claret, so the AI agents, the Rialto collection development, or Primo NDE. So that is exciting, and we see here a huge potential. What is very important for us is we need to exchange with the library community, so not only networks, but with each single library, and see how to stay trustworthy in the flooding of information that is also provided through AI. This is a huge challenge, and I think joint efforts how to use AI wisely is very much needed. You asked for an advice to other consortia in the situation of looking for a new system. So my advice is really to conduct a thorough analysis to determine where individual separate workflows are still really needed in a library. So weigh them against the advantages of collaboration in a consortium. Viable compromises must be found within a consortium, which can sometimes be difficult. And from the SLSP's point of view, it was always worth it. And what we now see after 5 years of productive operation not only makes the national platform indispensable from an operational point of view, but also allows more leeway and flexibility in a world of increasing financial and political constraints to strengthen and secure the position and legitimacy of libraries.
Thank you, Jürgen. What about you, Wendy?
So going forward, we'd like to see more sharing between consortia. We're doing some of that with out-of-state resource sharing or peer-to-peer resource sharing with other Alma customers on the East Coast pod and with some others. So we're really focused on trying to make sure that all of our institutions, whether the smaller colleges that are, or institutions that might not have the resources, can get access, their patrons can get access to materials anywhere to help support their, their library functionality without having to purchase, a different system, for example, to spend money that way. We'd also like to do, and this is something that we've been looking at and paying attention to, Jürgen mentioned, AI, of course, is huge. We're also looking at linked open data as a project, maybe in the near future. We don't think it's ready quite yet, at least for our needs. We definitely want to get that editor, BibFrame editor within Alma, and be able to work with the records in OCLC. I don't think we're at that point yet, but I think it's coming soon. So in terms of advice, I would say, and I think Jürgen already mentioned this, but clean up with a capital, all caps, exclamation, clean up as much as possible your system before going live with Alma or any ILS, I would say. So if you can hire an intern or have a staff person, just, to focus on that work, to make sure all of those And again, using Alma terms like patron statuses are similar across the board. Run reports to see if you have patron statuses like student, staff, faculty, what have you, with very few, very few numbers, and maybe you can consolidate some of those. Same thing with item statuses, material types, collections, do that cleanup. Another thing is to hire a project manager, to have someone that has project management skills, someone that is part of the implementation process, because Ex Libris does a fantastic job, I thought, with the Alma implementation, and the managing the project from their end. But internally, there are a lot of features and functionality and just work that needs to be done from the consortia side. And if the staff that are doing the work have to focus on also managing the project, because you'll have meetings and someone will say, oh yeah, I'll do that, I'll take care of that. You need to have that project manager document it, make a ticket for it, assign a date, assign a person to it. And that was huge for us to have a project manager on board with our implementation. So I think those are the big, huge things.
Thank you, Wendy. So what about you, Elisa? Any insights, advice you'd like to share?
Yeah, of course. So first of all, our network keeps growing. At this time, we're still managing more than 10 library integration projects. So it will be important for us to keep optimizing the network management. We also see a lot of new possibilities coming, like Jürgen and Wendy said, with Alma's AI features. And that's really exciting, and we're looking forward to keep exploring them. At the same time, we're working on more integrations outside of Alma to automate our cataloging processes with tools that are really tailored to the needs of our network. If I can give an advice, so my main advice would be to invest in automation, right from the start. It really gives you the capacity to offer new services without needing more staff. And I'd also say, remember that a consortium is not just a technical setup, it's a community. The more you invest in communication and in listening to feedback from libraries and users, the stronger your network will become.
Nice input. What about you, Alex? Are there some areas you'd like to push for further collaboration, or any advice you want to share with the audience?
For sure. At OCL, we're really looking to begin work on collaborative collecting. I mean, at this point, we're actually working to define what that actually means for our consortium. But the nice thing is that there are some tools available in the Alma system that can hopefully help drive this bus to where we need it to go ultimately. We're also striving constantly for better interoperability with our external partners across Canada. We appreciate that Ex Libris has been making consortia more visible and offers continued opportunities to have dialogue with the company and the product managers and so forth to further enhance that collaboration, because it will always work better if we can work together, is my view on that. In terms of advice, I've got two little bits. I want to build one piece on Wendy's. Yeah, clean up before, but don't be surprised that you'll have to do even more cleanup after. And I see all of them laughing and nodding because they're like, we were trying to forget that. But for consortia just starting out, I would really strongly recommend looking into the Illuna and Igloo consortial communities of practice. These are groups that include almost all of the Alma consortia around the world, and they can help with workflows, problems, understanding, and be safe spaces to kind of figure out what's going on. Ex Libris and Clarivate work really tightly with these two groups as well, especially on the Alma side. So that's my big piece of advice. Look for the communities to support you of other users.
That's good advice. I agree. So let's wrap up. I'm looking at the time. Let's wrap up with the final reflection and then open the floor to question if there is some question. First of all, I want to thank you all for your candor, your powerful insights today. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today. 4 of you, I really appreciate your participation in this webinar. I think it's clear that shared systems supported by strong collaboration are shaping the future of library consortia worldwide. And so now we have a few minutes. I'm looking at the time. We have a few minutes for questions from the audience. So feel free, use the chat panel and add question. Let me check if there is some already. So I think there's one, and I like that question. What's a small change that made a big difference? So I'm guessing the question is about moving to Alma. What's the small change that makes a big difference in your day-to-day work, I'm guessing. So I don't know which one of you wants to answer here. I'm not giving names. I leave it up to you guys to decide who wants to answer.
That's a difficult one, Maud.
It's a difficult one, but I like the question.
I have an answer. I have an answer. You can share our experience if you want. So one small change that actually made a huge difference for us was related to our Alma fulfillment setup. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna talk a little bit Alma terms. So a few years ago, we realized that the way our fulfillment units had been configured at the time of the migration was becoming really hard to maintain, especially as new needs appeared from different libraries. So I think at one time we stopped, took a step back, and completely rethought logic. Then we rebuilt everything cleanly in Alma. And since then, the system has been much more resilient, flexible, and much easier for our team to maintain. And honestly, we were really lucky to have made that change before COVID. When libraries suddenly had to close and adapt their services to sanitary constraints, for example, introducing pickup services for all collections, we were able to adjust the settings very quickly. All the work we've done beforehand made that possible. So we were really lucky to have done that before.
I think that's a good input. I mean, Alma is flexible enough for you to make those changes happens if you have the need for. And sometimes during implementation, you're discovering the tool, the software, and you don't. It's difficult to make decision about how should I configure the system to make it match with my own network. So I totally understand that. Sometimes it happens that you have to change things and you benefit from it. I'm happy with this. Thank you.
And sometimes small changes seem to be very small when you look at from the system perspective.
Yeah.
So we had, for instance, the situation, we had to decide which cataloging rules we are applying when we are creating this new environment with Alma. And we had here in Switzerland, the German-speaking part that is actually using the cataloging rules and the catalog traditions from Germany, whereas the French are using the ones from France. And the Italian-speaking part in Switzerland is using the traditions from the National Library of Florence in Italy. So there was a small, as you say, maybe a small decision for which cataloging format we are going, and we decided to use RDA with the German, with the applications of the German-speaking countries, which seems to be a small decision. It was like a huge decision. It was a huge step in the country. For the first time ever, the catalogers in Switzerland were working according to one catalog format and one catalog rule. So this small decision within Alma was actually a huge national decision.
It makes sense. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I wonder what, I mean, this question is more like a broad question, but if you had to, you already gave advice to the audience about what you would do if you were to move to Alma, but I want to understand what do you wish more library understood about shared system in the consortia setup? What would you think that people need to be aware of, and not only about Alma, in general, about your consortia? I mean, yeah. Oh, Alex, go ahead.
Small changes you make locally at your institution can have wide, big effects on people at all the other institutions.
True.
One perfect example is one of our schools made a small change to their automated fulfillment network configuration and actually kind of broke our entire fulfillment network by accident. Fortunately, really fast fix, but it's just your actions can affect a lot of other people suddenly, as opposed to just yourselves. So I think that's the biggest thing that people really need to understand about shared systems, is that, it's a we're all in this together, as opposed to, I can go, breaking the waves all on my own and not worry about other people sometimes.
Yeah, shared systems rely on reducing complexity in system parameter configuration, which often requires limiting local expectations. So it's essential to acknowledge also that library-centered requirements are not equivalent to user-centered services. So end users expect services that adapt to their context, and local requirements should therefore be carefully assessed rather than taken for granted. And exchange proactively with community members within a shared system to exchange best practices is very important.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else? I don't know, Wendy, Elisa, on this?
Well, I was going to mention this, and it's probably not answering your question, Ma, but I did want to throw this out.
Go ahead.
It's not Alma related, but one of the things that we did at FLVC, we have internally our team system for data management that we use amongst FLVC staff. And so we make sure all of the internal functionality that we do, all of the features that, the services that we provide, we try to document that, keep it all in one location so that anyone at FLVC can have access to it. And the same for the library facing side, the LibGuides. I'm really pushing my staff to document. If we provide a service, make sure that document is out there. And it's not only for the libraries to just see what services are available, because we do get this question that comes up where the library might not know what's available, what services are actually available. And if they have a LibGuide page where they can go to and find that information, that's helpful. But it's also helpful for us to make sure that if we set a policy around something, some sort of how who gets access to configure their system, what are the steps that you need to go through to make sure that you have the admin roles to be able to make those changes. All that information is on the LibGuide page, keeps us honest, keeps the library staff straight on what's available. Another thing I wanted to mention, building on what Elisa said about the really great quote about Consortia not just being managing the system, we provide other services like information about disaster recovery. So what step, if there's a closure, your library is damaged, you can't get access to a collection, what are the things that you need to do? We have that information listed on a website page. If you have to file an insurance claim, what are some of the reports that you can use to get information about material costs? So we try to make sure to provide as much information as possible and put it out there on the LibGuide page for our members to use.
Yeah, I think that's very important to mention, and I know that other consortia are doing it as well. I'm gonna wrap it up. We're on time, we're just on time, so I have 1 minute to wrap it up. I want again to thank you, thank the audience for being here today with us, and thank you, the four of you, to sharing your thoughts about collaboration within a consortia, within Alma. I think I just want to keep two things. If I need to wrap up this session, I want to say two things. First, The community is highly important, and collaboration with Ex Libris, Clarivate, and the community is the key in this to make a success on both sides. That's one thing. The second thing is keep in mind that the system is flexible enough to be able to answer all type of consortia, whether you have a strong central office or you have independent members. We can give you tools to manage your consortia within Alma. And I want to thank you all for being there today. And yeah, that's it, I think. Thank you.
Thank you to you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.